Hello and welcome. So today we are continuing our journey in our own custom game engine and editor, and we are going to add the option to add game objects to our level. And I will quickly start by saying hello and welcome to all our viewers who will hopefully join in. Welcome. Today we are going to work on sorry, where is it? Here it is. Today we're going to work on our game object menu system. Okay, so as always, let's first probably check what we have, how things are looking, and if everything still compiles from yesterday, which I sure hope we do. And yeah, basically we're starting. Let's just see if our menu system still works. Oh, okay. And we have the first runtime bug. This is a good entry. So we have already something to look into. I have an idea what that could be. I think it's in our render code. Let's just stop this game. I guess it's in our render code. So let's just move a few things out of the way. And so we have a better overview here. Good. So let's see. I think it's in the render code, very probably. And I think that I'm actually wrong. I think it is actually in the code that will check the mouse if it is hovering over one of my menu items, and I think it is happening actually on the on click here. So it's the mouse left click, and I think it is when we have the push back. I think the idea was to clear these, right? I remember this was one of my thoughts last time. Let's try this out. And anyway, let's see where we crash. Let's see where this exactly happens, okay? So if I'm clicking on item 2, nothing happens, it's fine. And if I'm just clicking outside of any item, also nothing happens. But if I am running the action, okay, I'm not crashing anymore. And we can see that the action is actually triggered. So far, so good. But what is not happening is that the drop down is actually closed. So let me quickly think. How can we close the how can we close this drop down item? I think we need to kind of forcefully tell the system to remove our mouse from remove the focus from both the menu item and from the and from the drop down rectangle, because currently this is kind of like the thing that really triggers the rendering of the rectangle. So in case we do not want to render the rectangle, we need to somehow override the system's knowledge that either the menu item or the drop down is in focus. I think this could be the route to go. We will very probably see and find out soon if this will work. Let's see, or maybe kind of let's think about it the other way around, and we will just see if that makes sense. So how do we actually render something? I mean, we render something if we have an active drop down, okay? So I think why the trick did not work, even though I'm clearing it out. I mean, the mouse is of course still over a menu item, and in this case it is probably not in the menu item, but we still check if it has a drop down menu and the mouse is still there. Yes, okay, yes. Yeah, I mean, probably we can just go with the old trick of having kind of like a just clicked variable or something like that, where we can say, okay, look, this is only valid for one frame, but we could say, well, in the last frame we clicked a menu item in a drop down, so this is why we should close it. But while I'm thinking of it, I think it doesn't really make sense, because if we do that in the next frame, so if we restrain this to one frame, it wouldn't help us, because in one frame, yeah, I mean, we would not render the drop down, but then this last frame would be out of scope, so to say, and that's what we would want. But we would then have to, then we would render it again, because let's assume the mouse is still there. So we need a completely different concept here. We need to we need to kind of, it should be like a lock almost. It is really state change. I mean, it's like for this menu, if we really want to, let's quickly check how is this working in a professional IDE. So I'm here, I'm saying inspect code, something happens, and I would really, I mean, okay, this is a bad example because this opens a modal dialog. Okay, this is something else anyway. But let's say, I mean, most probably will enter something. I mean, of course, most of these will trigger something. Let's see. I mean, the mouse is put, that's fine. I mean, that's really kind of an interesting problem. Again, we're probably at the point where we need a little bit of a more structured and sophisticated approach to this. And maybe this super minimalistic approach is maybe a little bit too naive here now. But I don't want to give up so quickly on that whole concept, because actually it didn't work so bad this far. So let's spend a few moments to draw some pictures in our mind, how we could probably do that. Yeah. I mean, there's kind of two routes that we can go down, two roads, two paths. One is to have a really kind of an overall much more sophisticated system that has this kind of master knowledge about all current menus and drop downs really in a single place, and it also knows very probably then the whole C hierarchy, like the whole layering. You might remember the problem we had last time when we had this problem that the click was kind of clicking through the drop down to the element that was kind of underneath it, and we kind of hacked our way around it when we said, okay, yeah, let's just declare the click as consumed in that specific instance, which anyway probably would not help us a lot in the more general use case, I guess. But yeah, the question is, could this also help us with this kind of issue where the actual logic that we need is that we need to somehow communicate to the system that a click on an item was done, the action is carried out, and now we want to be in a state where we do not actively render any drop down. Yeah, and this is kind of like probably like a toggle switch. And the question is, I mean, to switch the toggle on is kind of easy. We could do that now. I mean, we can probably follow our little step policy again, and we just introduce a policy where we kind of set the toggle on a drop down rectangle level, probably, because then we are already like atomic enough to do that. And we can say if this is a drop down menu and this menu item drop down menu, oh no, whatever it thought it was generating here was not a good idea. So if this drop down menu is not locked, we'll just call the toggle now locked. If it's not locked, let's create this. Let's say this is a Boolean field, and let's say the locked is false. And let's for now just say that we actually don't make this, but what we do make, this is the drop down locked equals true. So I think that now maybe this is already enough to now not render it anymore. If it works, it would still not be the solution because it would be now locked forever. But let's see if it works anyway. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's good. Okay. I mean, it's actually, yeah, okay, yeah. So now it is then just locked. It is just rendered when we hover over the menu, and I think this is actually the time when we can unlock it, right? I think, yeah, because that's okay. When we are activating the menu item the second time, or what do I say? It's not the second time, but like any time after we have locked it, we can unlock it. I think this is okay-ish. I think this is okay. This means that we are actually doing it exactly here. No. The menu item. Yes, exactly. Yo, maybe that was a quick win then. There's some hope. There's some hope here. Activated, and we have it again. Yeah, hey, bingo. That's good. That is good, and I think we can make that a little bigger here. Okay. Yeah, not so bad. So that means we can actually now go ahead and add some kind of real actions here, and we can also drink a bit of our yogurt here. Coconut, really nice. Because now we do not say item 1, but we say add game object, and I'm kind of thinking that we maybe might be inspired a little bit of how Unity does this. I think in Unity, if I'm not mistaken, you also have like a game object menu. And I think how they do it is they have this kind of pre-baked kind of templates for game objects which already have a geometric figure in them, right? So you can easily create a game object that has a cube mesh in it, or that has a sphere mesh, and I think that's actually kind of neat. I actually prefer this. I think it's more convenient for the user, because most often that's kind of what you want to do. You think, especially when you're like blocking out a level, I think very often you just want to drop a few cubes or drop a few spheres and then drop a few whatever cones and capsules. So I think we will go down that route now and just allow the user to add these kind of geometric primitives wrapped inside a game object. So it will not just be what is entering the game world is actually not just a mesh, but it is a mesh that is belonging to a game object. So the user can then right away also assign a script to such a game object. And this would be in comparison to something which I believe is more the way how it's, for example, done in Godot, where you besides the fact that they are not calling it game object, but it's more like you have to create a scene which is empty, and then you have, I think, this kind of, how they call it, whatever, mesh object or something, and then you actually have to select a mesh, and I kind of always found it tedious. So it was a lot 3-4 clicks through different layers of logic and menus to have something like that. So I guess we'll just go for now with a more direct and simple route, and we just say, yeah, let's just add a cube game object, and that's it. So let's just call it add cube, and we'll probably also call it add sphere. I think these are very basic like actions. So maybe let's even add a third one, but also have a capsule. And the text would be add cube as well. So we could probably spend a variable here, afford a variable for that. But as always, let's probably just stick with the most simple solution here. So what we are doing is creating the text mesh, but then there is no bounding box, and then we will create this function here, the action, which we will for now just copy. And this is then adding a cube. For now we will still keep this as a simple string printout. Adding a sphere, and then we will also do it like this: empty render item and adding a capsule. Adding a capsule. Okay, yeah, let's see if that also works still with 3 menu items. I sure hope it does. That would be very embarrassing if it only works with 2 menu items, but not with 3. Yeah, so far so good. And let's probably quickly check if the actions are all correctly added, which they should. Which they should be. So adding a cube, adding a sphere, adding a capsule. Very nice indeed. Okay, good. I'm quickly thinking that maybe before we actually add a cube and add a sphere and do all these real actions. By the way, I think we don't need to copy this. This looks totally redundant. That we actually go into the render dropdown function, and we make the height of the menu actually really correspond to the number of items, because I think this is quick win territory. I think. So what I mean by that is somewhere we have the drop down height, if I remember. Here we have it. And we have the drop down height, and the drop down height is, this is the render bounding box of the drop down item, and I'm just wondering where this is set, because how can we set it? This is a little bit of a hen and an egg problem. So which one comes first doesn't really make sense now. Doesn't really make sense. So who is setting this? Yeah, okay, here. I think that's the only place where it's actually set. And this is in the editor domain. So I was just thinking I'll show you the project here, because it's maybe easier to follow, or more interesting to see where these items are located actually. Makes it a little bit less space, but I guess it's still fine. In case, just let me know how you prefer it. So where is this? It's in the rendered. Okay, it's in the. Okay, it's in the. Okay, it's the top-down menu. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I mean, here it kind of. We could also completely do it here. We could do the complete calculation here. I mean, why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? I mean, essentially this 100 here. This currently is just a stupid magic number, and if I now add 6 more menu items, it would just completely break. And so we must calculate now the correct drop-down height here. And and the drop-down height, very naively put, is the menu item drop-down menu items size times 24. I think 24 was the height of the of each menu item line. So this drop-down height should now be growing and shrinking with the number of items. So in our case, it should be a little bit. It should have a little bit shrunk in comparison to what you had before. Yeah, perfect. So now let's add a 4th one, and let's see if this then grows accordingly, which I think it will. What else could we add here? What is a good primitive? I know what we'll do. We'll just add a camera, and we add a light, stuff like that. We'll just do that. Add camera. It's even useful. Adding a camera. And let's add a light as well, because we will need this. Add light. So let's add a directional light for now. Direction light, and as we now have a wider menu item, it may be that we have now a problem with the width of the drop-down menu, which is fine, quote unquote, because we may tackle this anyway right away as well. Yeah, exactly as we were thinking. Yeah, but overall, I mean, I'm quite happy. But of course, now we need to also take care of the width. So we took care of the height. Now we must also take care of the width. Let's do that. I think we can apply a very similar strategy as we did when we calculated the correct height, because now this will not just be right, because the left is fine. Left we want to have flush with the respective menu item, the main menu item, but we do not want to be just having the right edge of our drop-down menu flush with the right edge of the top main menu item, but we want to have it as wide as the widest menu item. So we call this the drop-down width, and this should be find widest menu item size. Just invent a new function here that we will in a moment also implement and not just write down here. Find widest menu item size out of a list of menu items, and the list will directly come from the menu item drop down menu items. And we will probably also give it the font handle that is used here, and it's just a small one here. So because the calculation of the text width is dependent on the font used, which should be logic, I guess. It should make sense. And I'm just thinking where we'll create this. I think we'll not create this here in the editor, but we'll create it in our engine actually. Yeah, I think this is something that just makes sense to be in the as part of the engine. And what we get here is probably a float value. Might also be an int, but we just actually have a graphics handle, and it is a font handle, and it is a standard vector of menu item pointers, and this is a reference. Yeah, because then we are kind of totally agnostic. It's not even needed to be inside of a drop-down menu now, which is good. So now I'm just thinking where to put it. Shall I put it into the common renderer code, or shall I put it into the DirectX renderer code? But I think this is actually a measure text thing, and this is already here, so that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fitting here, because we will just use that actually. So we will just menu item in menu items, and we will just say that the widest equals, so what is this, mini, I always forget numeric limits minimum. Then we say auto width equals measure text, and we give it a font handle. Look how nice that we already have it, and we give it the actual text, and the text is just the menu item name. And I think we can just max y. Yep. So this is now the maximum of the actual widest. So whichever one is bigger, or the new width. Okay, and is it like that, or what is the problem here? Ah, okay, yes, of course. I'm sorry. Width is equals. So this is the BB, and so the width is actually BB right minus BB left. So this is now the width, and this should be fine, and we can just return the widest. I think that should be it. I think that should be it. I think that should be it. So who is calling that? And this is the drop down width, and now this is used here. Let's see if that immediately worked. That would be awesome. That would be totally awesome. Haha, yeah, that did not work at all. This is cool. This is very cool. Let's have a look at how this pans out when we debug it. So something must be quite off here. So the first width is 60, which makes sense, and the name is add cube. Okay, so the widest currently is 60. Okay, makes sense. That's good. I mean, that's fine. Now the width is 71, so the widest is 71, so that is fine. Okay. Add capsule. The width is 77, so I guess this we now have that. So we stay with 77. Now we have add directional light. So 124 is the widest. And right is it might just be that the render bounding box right probably stay here, and the render bounding box left. Yeah, because now it's everything is 0, so that is stupid anyway. So I don't. So the render bounding box now is something. Okay, yeah. So it's 225. Okay, so it's probably left plus the drop down width. This is the right. Yeah. No, that makes of course sense. Yes. So this is menu item, drop down menu, render bounding box left plus drop down width. Yeah, I think this should do it. Let's drop out of the debugging and let's see if it works now. And it's, yeah, I mean, for some reason it's slightly better, but it's still not really okay. I think maybe it's actually, so there's just some margins off. I mean, it's now more a question of fine-tuning it. It's not a big deal. So I had calculated it from the left side of the actual item. Yeah, and now we're much closer, and I think we just need to just put a bit of margin here, and we just put here +8. I think that makes sense. Yeah, that looks very neat. And the 8 is not just a coincidence, but 8 is always essentially our smallest grid size. So we also have a margin of 8 on the left, and so now we also have a margin of 8 on the right. And I'm just quickly putting up my ruler here, if I find it. There is this screen ruler somewhere, yeah. And I think you would not see it, but yeah, the problem is, okay, it's not so easy to see, but no, but I think it's fine. Let's just eyeball it for now. No, it's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. So the next thing we need to do, or the next thing we can actually kind of get rid now, is this generic game object hierarchy, which is just consisting of test objects, which I'm currently just hard-coded making up at the initialization phase of the editor. And now is probably the moment where we can get rid of that, and we can actually populate this tree for real, and we can add game objects for real here, and we will hopefully see the tree grow. Which of course leads to a question where such a new game object would fit in, and I would just argue it just fits in directly under the root, and it will just be added sequentially. So if there is, so we have 3 top level game objects already. Like here we have 3, and I would now say add a cube, then the cube should be added here. I mean, what we could do is we could just for now probably also leave these test objects so they have something populated, and we can easily get rid of them anyway, anytime. So we might just for now just keep them, and so we can play around. I mean, let's see. I think both ways are fine. You know. But I really have to say this color is not very nice. I think I will spend at least 25 seconds now to make this a nicer color. But the problem is, I know the color is actually a texture. Yeah, I don't want to open up GIMP. Yeah, let's just stick with it. Although it's a very not nice color, but yeah, let's just stick with it for now. So, okay. So. Then let's just do that. I mean, let's say when we go into the actions here, adding a cube. So what should this actually do besides just printing out? Yeah, I mean, we can actually, yeah, sometimes it kind of guesses right. Cube is a new game object. Okay, that makes sense. And somewhere in our editor state, I think we have our game objects. Yeah, yeah. I mean, essentially that's it. So we'll just give it a name. Equals cube. Yeah, and let's just call it cube now. We need to kind of give it a unique name, obviously. So we need some mechanism to kind of create these suffixed numbers. I'm just thinking of if I need it now. I mean, no, I will just not do it now anyway. And maybe that's already it. I mean, if I did not completely mess up, in the last days and weeks. Maybe that's already enough, and we should see the game object tree grow and show a cube. Yeah, but it does not. But it does not. Okay, fine. So let's check in the rendering of the game object tree. Oh, I think I know. This is just a small issue because we have an. Yeah, I actually made it wrong because this is the way. I need to put it into the. I need to add it as a child under the root game object, and I think now it will work. I'm 9 out of 10 optimistic that it will work now. 3, 2, 1. Bingo. And we can also not add a sphere because there's not the code in it. But yeah, I mean, let's just quickly add this quick and dirty code here. And I don't fully get this tabbing here. Yeah, so now, but it's not a cube, but it's a sphere. Sphere. And we can really just do this everywhere. And just so, but that's not a sphere because that's a capsule. This is a camera, super important, and this is a directional light. Just see if we can populate the game object tree with all of these different game objects. Add a cube, add a sphere, add a capsule, add a camera, add a directional light, add another capsule, add another cube. Perfect. Okay, so now, okay, wow. So now we could go kind of really super overboard, and we could actually now try something that has the selected game object. Bring up a drop-down menu on right click and then add a game object directly underneath this respective selected object. Yeah, I think you will need that. I think if you have that, this gives us really a nice degree of freedom, because then we can really freely build the tree. And it also puts our whole concept for the drop-downs under test. And probably it will fail and crumble under this test. But anyway, I mean, that's what we want to achieve. I mean, let's see. There's not so much time left, around 15 minutes, but we will just see how far we can get. Okay, let's do that. I think the first thing again is to just render a placeholder for the drop-down. So what we must do is we must render it in the correct location. The correct location for this drop-down now is depending on the location in screen space of the game object here. And yeah, I mean, I think we will probably just orient ourselves code-wise in the function where we check the mouse in this game object tree, and we will probably just check for a right click and try to render a rectangle. I mean, let's be quick. Let's use the full power that we have and try to get something going today. Yeah, okay. Let's do that. Let's do that. So the code in question is Something with check, because I call these things check, and I think it's called GameObject 3 inputs. Perfect. Check for clicking on the expanse icons. No, that's not needed now. No. But what is needed now is this here. But we're not interested in a left click. We are interested in a mouse right click, which doesn't even exist, but that's fine. I will just create it on the fly, and we have it forever. Mouse right click is nice. We will just add it here. It's also Boolean. That is, so far it makes sense, and we will just return a function which does not yet exist, but in a few seconds it will. We go here, we create the function, and we will also use a right button up, which also does not exist, but that is not an issue. Right button down, yeah, right button up. Actually, that's what I want. Good. Well, let's see where this is used. Left button up. Somewhere here, yeah. So we will need a new Windows message. Right button down. This is then R button down, true, break. Fortunately, this is kind of simple now, that we have a little bit more experience with these kind of Windows API thingies here. And I mean, what we need is this kind of householding. I think I need to do the frame. Is there something like a frame function? Let's just do this here. As we already see it, just a small cleaning up. I remember there is a function where we actually set this to false, but it must be more than that. It's probably here. Yeah, that's what process messages. That's what I wanted. Because now we will also do right button up, so that each time, essentially each frame, we will reset our button states, so that this is always the one and fresh truth that we have here. So that would be it, and the mouse right click. Yeah, the win right mouse up is fine, because we need to call it external bool. I always write external win right mouse up. Okay. Win right mouse up. Okay. Yeah, but now, yeah, and this one must go into engine H, otherwise it doesn't see it. I know. Win mouse, well, mouse left click, mouse right click. Okay, I guess we're good from that. On that front, yes, we are. So now what we're doing is something similar, or exactly the same, when we are hovering over a menu item, a main menu item, that is, because this is the signal for us to, I think I don't need that now, because this is a signal for us to register a drop-down menu, right? And we will orient ourselves at this code which we wrote, and we will now just look into the check menu item, menu inputs, and essentially this is the code, right? I mean, we need to adapt it a little bit, because now if first we need to have the actual game object, right? Yep, this is the item. That's perfectly correct. It's a game object. Yes, exactly. That's what I want. As is our habit, we call a game object a go, a game object. So if our game object has a drop-down menu, which as of now it does not even know that it can have it, then we will just put it there. So the game object gets a new functionality, which is it can have a drop-down item. And it will be a null pointer. But if it is not a null pointer, it will add it to the active dropdown. So that means that from now on, when we say add a new cube, that this this game object here, in this case it's a cube, will get a drop-down menu. And the drop-down item, I'm not happy with the name drop-down item. I feel like I will change that, but maybe not now. Let's use the time in a better way. Let's look for DD1. I think this is a good menu. It's there. It's just up here. This is what I call kind of it's almost fractal. Because now we add a new menu here. For now, this will not have an action. No, is it? No, it's not a new menu item. I'm stupid. I am stupid. It's a new drop-down item. Yeah, no. That's not what we do. And the DD1, this is a drop-down item, but the drop-down item. Yeah. No, that's fine. It's just we just make it empty. The only thing that would now not make it render is the thing that doesn't make it render is it isn't rendered, because the only drop-down items that are currently rendered are the ones that are related to a main menu item. A main menu item is not a game object, so we need to also put this into the render game objects functionality. And it's really, I would say, around here, but it's probably after all of these things, right? I mean, the question is visible images and pushback invocation counter. So this is recursive, which is fine, I guess. But probably we just do it to do render drop downs for game objects. Let me quickly check how do I do this when I render the top menu. Am I kind of relying on the actual menu? I guess I do. And render a drop down menu. I'm now wondering if that would even, if that is actually kind of correct, because Because if I read that correctly, it actually looks wrong to me, because now I the way I wrote it here and the way I read it here is that if I have a menu item that simply has a drop-down menu, it would be rendered, but this is clearly not the case, right? I mean, for example, we know that the game object menu has a drop-down menu, but still it's not rendered. Just because. I mean, it's only rendered when I select it, so is there. But this if here is ending here, so I'm wondering why that would work. I mean, if this would be inside here, I would be not so confused. But now I am confused because the way I read this, it should just render it anyway, right? Interesting. Yeah, and it also does. And it also does. And the height is this, and it's left. Yeah, I mean, it's not even. I know. Okay, here it's actually not. Yeah, no, I'm stupid. Here, yeah. Now here's just the code of the size. Here, actually, the measurement is just taken, and this is a little bit of a not so nice practice here of myself, because this is obviously called render top menu, but it does something else. It also so while it does render the top menu, it also gives the measurement and it gives the dimension to the drop-down menu, which is a bit dirty. I think I will write a to-do here. To-do, come on, refactor this out of this render function into a separate measure function. I think this makes more sense. I think this makes much more sense. But nevertheless, I mean, it's fine. I understood what's going on, and I think I can use it. I can use it in the render game objects recursive function here, because actually, yeah, this is the because this is actually the so if the Go has a drop-down menu, this is essentially the same idea now, right? Just copy that. Just the only problem is that it might not, it's just not working like that exactly. Okay, this is called the tree bounding box. That's all. For whatever reason, I called it different, but yeah, I mean, that's not a big issue. This is a go. This is a tree. This is a tree. And yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. I'll probably, I mean, if the, let's say it's left plus the drop down width. Let's say the drop down width is actually standard minimum of, so at least I want to be like 50 or something, just that we see something. Let's make it 100 or the drop down width. Make this, or let's make the bigger one, standard max, right? Drop down width, and yeah, Yeah, well, let's make it at least 100 so it kind of looks a bit probably like this kind of standard width. Yeah. And let's do something similar here. So at least I wanted 100 for now. So in case this would be 0, the maximum would now give that, right? Unsigned long. I mean, this is, well, okay, much better. Yeah, and yeah, because now let's quickly check. 5 minutes left. Let's say render drop down overlays, and now I think, oops, it should work. So when we just go over all the active drop downs here, yeah, maybe it does. One thing that we no, I think it should be fine because they should always be rendered really right on top. Yeah, let's quickly check. I think in any case it's a good base, but we may continue later. Even if it's not immediately working, I think it's not completely wrong. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't have a this doesn't have a drop down menu, so that is understandable. But let's just quickly check this. Let's add a cube. Let's right click. I think this did not work. Of course it did not. First time, it very often does not work. Yeah, at least you have something. I mean, I'm not sure if so what's it doing now? We need to be somewhere else here. So yeah, I think here we are correctly. This is the game object. You see, we're rendering rendering our game object panel here, and we are rendering what? What exactly do we render here? I think we just never render this. Okay. Let's quickly check. Are we here in debug mode? I think we are. Okay, that's fine. If we are in debug mode, we can see if we actually, yeah, we can see if we actually check game object tree inputs. Let's see if we even get the mouse right click. I mean, do we get here? What is that? That looks awful. Did I do that? Did I do that? If you have a drop down menu. Yeah, no, it's fine. I guess we just copied it over. Yeah, let's see if we go here. Let's see if we go here. No, put that down again. I want to see my editor. So yeah, I mean that's fine. So we have, how many drop downs active do we have? 1. Okay, that's also fine. Let's check the render function. Render drop down overlays. Render drop down overlays. So oh, okay, do we, oh, oh yeah, no, we have to be here somewhere. Okay, yeah, let's see if this is, yeah, okay. So what is the drop downs active? Yeah, okay, so also the measurements seem to work. We have our maximum of whatever we had, which very supposedly 0 because we do not have any menu items. That's correct. And now we have 100 at the right and 100 at the bottom. That's fine. I can live with that. So why wouldn't we then see that? I think we should do. I mean, the only problem could be that I think the only problem would be that we would somehow maybe immediately lose the rendering, because in the next moment there would not be a left click, right? So where do we actually clear the actives? Where do we clear these? Where do we clear those? The active menu items. Do we even call that? Someone is calling that? No. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. But let's anyway drop downs active. So who is calling clear on that? Make you bigger. Oh, it's only one place. That's always nice to see if it's only one place. Yeah, let's probably just not do that now, just for the sake of a last debug effort of today's stream. And let's see if we have a nice little drop down. I mean, here is nothing happening now, or not. Yeah, okay, that's still working, but it will now stay on because we never clear it. That's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but oh yeah, I mean, okay, we go here and yeah, okay, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. I mean, it's so yeah, it's just the offsets that's wrong. Better than nothing. I think this is kind of a good result. I think it's a medium result. We had worse. We probably had better results, but I think it's a good next step. Sorry, it's kind of a cliffhanger, but we will continue. And thanks for watching. I think we still had some progress. I'm not totally unhappy actually, and we will see each other next time, hopefully. See you soon.